I'm pretty and not paid. Of course, I'm only gonna donate one ply of toilet paper. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I'm here to review season 16, episode 14 of The Real Housewives whose husband refused to tell them that they love them on their anniversary of Atlanta. So we start the episode off on the second day of the cast trip to Grenada. Everyone's waking up. Then we see Mrs. Charles Oakley's wife, Angela. She decides to call her husband Charles, or at least the way she likes to say it, Charles. Emphasis on the s, right? So she says, according to Angela and her delusions, she says that Charles misses her, he loves her, they're trying to work on their marriage, right? What marriage? I'm not really sure because I feel like they're in two different places. You know, Charles, he's over there back at home thinking about his horse. Angela, she's thinking about the love that she could get from her husband, but she has yet to have received in 14 episodes already? But you know, let's just go along with her delusions, right? So she calls him and she's like, just give it a minute. Charles is about to pick up. One second. Oh, okay, he's not picking up. Okay, cut the cameras. Cut the next scene. Meanwhile, downstairs, we have Remy Ma, Ty's girlfriend, 50 Cent, Candy's peach snatcher, Waffles, and Porsha's bodyguard. They're recapping everything from the night before, and according to Remy, she took so many shots to the point where she had to throw up on the side of the road. Just gross, Brit. Like, is this really all you have to offer the show? You know, pistol threats, toilet paper, one ply of toilet paper to be exact, which you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, and if honestly, if I was the people of Grenada, I would send it back to you just to be petty. Like, I would mail it back to you with a little sticky note that said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. Hashtag Team Kenya more. Like, Brit, you should be ashamed, right? But I mean, I guess it's the thought that counts, right? Whatever. So, you know, they're discussing that. Oh, and also Porsha and Drew, you know, they got over their little issue that Porsha has been dragging for what? 13 episodes now? At least for now, right? Until Porsha gets lonely and she starts missing the hot dog man. And then, you know, she'll have a reason to throw it in Drew's face again, right? But for now, they're okay. So eventually the homewrecker, she comes downstairs. I mean, Porsha, she comes downstairs. They split up into two different vans to, you know, start their day. Porsha and her bodyguard and two others, they go in one van. Porsha, she starts instigating between Shamia, Drew, and Britt, and she starts telling her, well, you know what, Shamia, I just think it's crazy that Drew called you my lapdog. I mean, it's kind of true, don't you think? But I mean, no. It was pretty mean. I don't think that she should be calling you names or anything like that. What do you think? All of a sudden, her bodyguard, she gets a battery in her back, right? The double pack one, right? So it's like extra boost, extra energy. So it makes Shamia extra delusional. She starts putting Britt's business out there like, oh yeah, she only brought one ply of toilet paper. Then she had the nerve to send me $250. 250, Britt? 250 in my Nene voice. $250? You let Greg borrow $250? Like, that is diabolical, Britt. What do you mean, 250? Like, what are people, 250 nowadays? That's like a nickel in 2025. Like, 250? I mean, I know it's the thought that counts, but fuck that. Like, you need to put a couple of more thoughts into that. Like, that is crazy, 250. But then again, what can we expect, right? I mean, we saw Britt's event. Emphasis on event a couple of episodes ago, you know, where everybody's guts, you know, were rumbling and tumbling because they were so hungry and they were starving. So, I mean, what do we expect, right? So then she starts talking about Drew. And this is where I have to get my trusty fishing hook and reel Shamia back in. Like, Shamia, hold on, come back, because you're taking it way too far. You know, I feel like Shamia is in her flop era currently, because I feel like when we first started the season, you know, I saw her with so much potential. Like, you know what? I want to see more of Shamia. I can see why she gets a peach. I want to see more of her. You know, now we're at episode 14. I'm like, you know what? I prefer her to be a 2-for-1 special with Porsha instead. Like, Shamia starts saying, oh yeah, Drew, you know, first of all, I'd rather be Porsha's lapdog. First of all, we see the footage. We know you'd rather be that. You know, I'd rather be your lapdog than be a nobody like Drew. Nobody even knows the Drew. To say that Drew is a nobody is crazy because I knew of Drew way before she was even on the show. She was actually the original homewrecker before Porsha. And I feel like people forget about that just because Porsha holds the current title now in 2025. But no, Drew, I remember everything and how you got in the way of the whole relationship between Melanie and Derwin. You know, poor Melanie, all she wanted to do was just go to med school, have a good career, a bright future. But what did she spend most of her time doing? Just worrying about and stressing about her dumb boyfriend that, he didn't care about anything that she was doing. He didn't encourage her. He wasn't there for her, right? What did he want to do? He wanted to get with you, Drew. And what did you do? You got with him too, right? Knowing that he had a girlfriend, knowing that she was going to med school and already stressed out to the max. And what did you do? You added more stress to her because now her relationship is falling apart. Her man is cheating on her for you and you didn't care, right? He didn't care either, right? And then when she confronted you about it, what did you say? Nothing. You had nothing to say to her, right? Eventually, they get to this place outdoors where they have men cooking for them. While they're cooking, they go to this waterfall and they take pictures. They have a good time. I love the scene of all of them dancing in slow motion with the music in the background. They all look good, right? So they sit back down. They're eating waffles. She decides to ask Drew, so who is Black? Because now Black is a mystery person that Drew is allegedly dating, according to Porsha. Drew, of course, Drew's gonna have that face, right? I don't know what you're talking about, even though deep down inside, she knows exactly what you're talking about, so she has to put on for the cameras, right? She's like, black, no, blue, red, yellow, pink, black, black. I don't know who Black is, but according to Drew, if she was allegedly dating Black, she would just come out with it and say, yeah, I am dating him. I want to be happy. I want to be in that position again. Ralph has been having a whole meltdown on Twitter for the past 48 hours, just putting receipt after receipt, screenshots of a bunch of conversations and pictures of Drew and her alleged lover, side piece, side chick, whatever you want to call it, Ty. That there has been rumors since last season, I believe, that they've been together, but now we have receipts. According to Ralph on Twitter, and take this with a grain of salt because Ralph is also a liar, so it's kind of like two liars pointing at each other. He says that, the whole Tampa situation that they were discussing on this show, I believe last season or the season before, it was all made up. It was just so she could keep her peach on the show. Meanwhile, she was the one that was cheating on him with Ty. And then there's a picture that they're in the car, Ty and Drew. And Drew, what is she doing in the passenger seat? She is just knocked out. She's getting some really, you could tell that it's really good deep sleep too, because she's just knocked out in the steering wheel. And Ty, she's taking a selfie from this perspective, and you just see Drew in the background. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did Ralph get that picture? Did Ty send it to him trying to be messy? What's going on? But he's just putting all these receipts out that she's been unfaithful. And if she has, then good for her. Ralph, please, we act like we haven't seen you, trying to get with your cousin. Whatever you want to call it, cousin Courtney, that bobblehead. Anybody see the disrespectful reunion chart? I'm like, okay, there's Porsha. I guess she's the first chair of Phaedra. Okay, and then we see Shamia. She's the other first chair, I believe. And then Drew. The disrespect, because everybody has been pulling Drew from side to side to side, trying to make her their storyline this season. And Drew, where is Drew sitting? She's sitting all the way back there, back there. She's basically the camera woman. She's basically a producer. She's all the way backstage. She's sitting in the bathroom, way in the back, at the very end of the couch. I'm like, wow, the disrespect is crazy. But they head back home, and in the van, we see Porsha and her bodyguard. Her bodyguard starts telling her, I'm just so glad that I got my best friend back. I'm just so glad that we're in a better place. Porsha's secretly looking at her like, yeah, Shamia, I'm so glad that we're in a better place. Give me a hug. I can't stand her. And then she tells Shamia, let me smell your finger. Ugh. So then they start making a song called, what is it? Let Me Blow in Your Booty Hole. And it sounded kind of catchy. I'm like, okay, I like the beat. But at the same time, is it healthy to blow in somebody's booty hole? There was a time where I was actually against the whole ass eating thing. What do you mean you put your tongue in there, right? Ugh. But it took the right person, the right situation, and eventually I came around to it, and it's like a delicacy to me now. But wait, I only did it for one person, and that was the person I was in a relationship with in the past. So, Maybe I should call him. It's late too. It's like 11. Maybe should I text him? They get back to the house, they start getting dressed for dinner, then we see Angela. She wants to call her husband to celebrate their anniversary over the phone. Or at least she thought they were gonna celebrate, right? So she calls Charles, he picks up, and she tells him, Charles, I love you. What does Charles say? Okay. So Angela continues, Charles, I miss you. What does Charles say? Okay. So Angela continues, Charles, come on, give me something. What does Charles say again? Okay. The whole conversation was just so painful to listen to. If I was Angela, I would have had another private conversation with the producers like, hey, I'll give you $50 and I'll give you my portable fan if you just scrub the entire episode from this scene. Like, this is so embarrassing. Clearly, my husband does not love me. He loves those whores that he's been screwing around and had a child behind my back with that I keep trying to deny on this show, that they keep trying to expose me. And I can only imagine what they're going to ask me at the reunion. But can you please just delete this footage because this is giving people even more receipts on this? Please, just do it right now. This is so embarrassing, Angela. But I bet you if she's like, oh, you want to talk about whores? I'm pretty sure then he'll want to engage in the conversation. Then he wants to talk, right? Or let's talk about the child that you had outside of your marriage. Then maybe he wants to talk, allegedly. That is not love. And after the first okay, Angela is much better than me because I would have hung up so quickly. I would have called every sneaky link from my past hey, how fast can you fly out to Grenada? Yeah, I'm in room 309 and bring a friend and bring your cousin too. I would have had a whole menage a trois, behind my husband's back just to be petty, just because I'm hurt. My anniversary is being celebrated with somebody tonight. Regardless, everybody else, they're all downstairs taking baddie shot o'clock. Now, Porsha's bodyguard, Shamia, she's taking these jabs at Brittany for no reason. And she's just like, oh yeah, if anybody wants to take a shot, there's shots right here. But if you don't want to, I don't want to feel like I'm forcing you. Because Britt earlier said that she doesn't want to really take shots like that. She's too sophisticated for shots all of a sudden. That's a thing. But, so she's constantly taking jabs at Britt. And Britt is noticing this, but she's not saying anything about it just yet, right? And I'm like, okay, what did Britt do to you? But okay, so they get in the van, they get to the restaurant, they're all sitting down. Everybody's dressed really nicely, by the way. So then Shamia, she gives one of her long-winded speeches, and she's like, okay, so, I just want to say thank you all so much for donating, to the people of Grenada, for anybody here, we all drive really nice cars, we all have money, some of us, we have Birkins, and we could just donate but so much. She's obviously taking a jab at Britt because Britt is the one that showed up, with a Birkin bag in her hand to donate toilet paper. So Britt is clearly, obviously, she feels victimized by this. And she's like, you're obviously talking about me. What did I do to you, Shamia? Shamia, all of a sudden, she wants to play dumb. And she's like, wait, what? Wait, hold on, Britt. What are you talking about? No, I'm just saying in general. What are you talking about? Please don't play dumb now, Shamia. I know your bestie plays dumb 24/7 to your face and you just fall for her antics, but please stop. You know exactly what you're doing. Just own up to it. So then Britt is just like, Shamia, me and you, we discussed this, privately. We went out together and you said everything was okay. You told me that it was fine of me to donate anything. So I'm not understanding the issue. And again, why did we not get that sit down between both of them? Bravo. Once again, screwing up the season, but, apparently they had to sit down on the side and Shamia, she was okay with this. So Shamia, I'm not understanding what the problem is now. It just seems like you wanted to have an issue on camera. You wanted to have a storyline with Britt for some reason, with this you wanted to blow this whole thing out of proportion. And for what? Yeah, she looks bad because she donated toilet paper and a nickel. But it also makes you look bad because you were okay with this. So now why are you trying to go back on your word now? So they continue going back and forth. Britt is just like, you're being passive aggressive. If anything, I think Shamia is being extremely childish and petty. So then Britt, she asks everybody, okay, does anybody else have an issue with me? What's going on? Let's just bring it up now. So then Porsha, she was just like,
well, you know what, Britt, I just feel like there's an issue between me and you because, in the text message, there was a miscommunication and I feel like you were bothered by that and I feel like we can't really hang out or something.
there was a miscommunication between both of them. Like, Britt said, oh, you know who this is, blah, blah, blah. But Porsha, being Porsha and clueless, she didn't know who that was, blah, blah, blah. It was just a complete miscommunication. Porsha was just like, Britt, Porsha, Britt, Porsha. And eventually they just had to drop everything because then the prime minister, he shows up and, everybody's just like, oh, he's young, he looks good, blah, blah, blah. In the confessional, the producers asked them, who do you think should be the first lady of Grenada? So they all go around saying, oh, me, except Angela. Angela nominates Porsha. And I'm looking at Angela like, you should be nominating yourself. I mean, your marriage is almost, it's on the edge of destruction. You might as well just jump ships and get yourself a prime minister. But okay, Angela. And I don't think the prime minister is Portia's type anyway, because I think he's single. Porsha usually goes for somebody who's married. You have to at least be married for like maybe 3 months for Porsha to pursue you. So I don't think that he's really Portia's type. But Porsha says,
I can see myself being the first lady of Grenada. I think that'd be a good idea.
yeah, sure, Porsha. But then again, you continue fighting back and forth for a hot dog man with Drew. Make it make sense. Like, how do you go from hot dog man to prime minister? But, Porsha, where there's a will, there's a way. And I feel like she'll make it happen somehow. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back for next season pursuing Porsha. Porsha. But eventually that was that. The prime minister, he was nice, he was cool. He had a drink with them. He sat down. They were chit-chatting. Eventually he leaves and, the dinner's over, right? But Britt, she's still in her feelings. She's telling everybody, I just don't understand why nobody wants to be friends with me. Nobody's nice to me. Nobody comes over, blah, blah, blah. Phaedra, she breaks it down to her very perfectly in the van. She's like, look, you need to stop all this BS that you're coming into this group with. You're coming into this group really hot and nobody's really wanting to be nice to you because you're not being nice and open to yourself. You need to have what did she say? A charcuterie board or something over, invite people over and have events. But then again, she tried to do that like 2 episodes ago and look how that went. Everybody's stomach was just rumbling and tumbling, like I said. Everybody was starving, so I don't think that she'll have enough money for a charcuterie board, Phaedra. It's a nice thought, but I don't think it's possible. So that was that. Meanwhile, we see Porsha and her bodyguard in the other van. Shamia, she gets a call from her husband saying that Shiloh is really, really sick. She's going through it. There's a bunch of medical issues that we heard at the beginning of the season. And Shamia, she starts getting all emotional because obviously she can't just, get to her house in 2 seconds, right? So she's going through it and, in the back of my mind, the question that I asked earlier this season was, Shamia, you want to continuously pressure yourself to have another child with your husband because you think that he deserves it. Yet the children that you do have now, I mean, you're kind of, you're all over the place. Just because, kids have medical issues and they go through things, and yet you want to add more to your plate by bringing in another child? Like, I get it that your husband is nice and all, but, you need to realize what you do have now and deal with that now. But eventually, I believe the other man, they find out what's going on. All of a sudden, Britt, her tone is completely different. And, she calls Shamia. She was like, hello? Yeah, baby. Yeah, no, baby. No, yeah, no, for sure. Okay, no, we'll see you soon. I'm like, if I was Shamia, even though I would have been going through it, and yeah, I need support, and yeah, I'm sad right now over my child, I would have been like, can somebody get this bitch off the phone and pass me Cynthia? They get back to the house, right? Oh, this is where I start cringing because everybody's just, walking around. They're all uncomfortable now and sad over Shamia. She comes back out. She has a robe on. She starts sitting down. She starts crying and breaking down. Everybody's just hugging her and supporting her. And, Kelly, she gives one of her long-winded waffle speeches. And I believe that they break the ice because they're like, well, Portia's just hugging her, right? And her titty's right next to her mouth. And I'm like, Porsha, can you get your nipple out her eye? Like... She's over here trying to cry and she has a fucking nipple in her. Eventually, right, Remy Ma, she comes out and I'm not sure if at this point she's drunk. I feel like she is. She comes out and she gets in front of Shamia, right? And obviously they just went back and forth not too long ago at the dinner table. She was just like, Shamia, I just want to say, you have a village right here. You have a village. No, a village. We're all a village for you. Come over here. No, I love you. And I'm sorry for what I said earlier. And, I can't believe that Monique Samuels is going to be on the next season of The Real Housewives of Potomac. I thought she was done with reality TV. I want Candace back for season 11. I'm so glad that Juan Dixon is not here. You have a village, and I need you to remember that. And I was Drew the entire time. Drew was just looking. You could just tell that Drew was just like, "What the fuck is this bitch doing?" Like, I felt such a secondhand embarrassment. I felt so uncomfortable watching this entire scene. Like, please stop the cameras. Like, roll the previews for the next episode next week. Like, please stop this. Like, you know, it was a bunch of BS. And of course, Shamia's not going to call her out. You know, Shamia was just like, oh, okay, yeah, thank you for the support. That was that. So we went from that somewhat cute moment, you know, from Shamia crying and being sad, to all of a sudden now Britt, she gets up and she starts getting wild next to the kitchen. She tells Phaedra, bitch, you better pour me some shots. Now, wait a minute. Now, if I was Phaedra, I would have told you, you better watch those B words before you end up in the ocean over there somewhere in Grenada. You know, she pours her the shots. All of a sudden, she takes off her top. Now she's topless, you know, titties all out, and then she starts spreading them on the table. She starts, you know, swiping them all over, you know, swiper, no swiper. She starts swiping them all over the table, and I'm like, whoa. You know, like, we just had a nice sandwich earlier this morning on that table, and now it has titty milk all over it. Okay, fine, right? But then she slides off her skirt. Now she has no panties on. She's completely naked, completely topless, and this is where I draw the line. You know, I could the titty milk, that's fine. You know, it could leak out on the table, that's fine. But this is where I draw the line, because then she puts her ass on the table. You know, I was just talking earlier in this review how I was just coming around the whole idea of eating ass, and now you want to put your ass juice all over the table that we're eating at? Like, you know, what if I wake up tomorrow and I want to make myself a nice, you know, scrambled egg sandwich or whatever? Now I don't have anywhere to eat it because your ass has been all over this table. You know, now I'm just sitting there with my sandwich in my hand like, what's that smell? It smells like Britt Edie's ass. And she's just bouncing on it too. She's just pop, like all over the table. I'm like, oh no, producers, you know, I hope, you know, they scrub that table down real good, because it has titty milk all over it, titty juice, ass juice, pussy juice, all types of juices all over that table. Like, that's just crazy. You know, that was it. Let me know what you all thought about this whole entire episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Just putting her ass all over the table. Would any of you still eat at the table? Like, if you would have seen that happen? You know what I mean? Anyways, bye, everybody. Mwah.